Hello everyone, Geetanjali here, Community Health Executive for the National Cancer Society of Malaysia. Welcome to our Health Talk, Leaving No One Behind, HPV Vaccination, Dispelling Myths and Rumours. I will be the moderator for tonight's session. Joining me is Dr. Jason Chin. Dr. Jason Chin works as the operations lead in the Care Outreach Department at the National Cancer Society of Malaysia. He also focuses in education, care, and support, as well as working closely with healthcare practitioners to advocate the importance of early detection, right diagnosis, and treatment of caregiving in cancer. Currently, he's a student candidate in the Masters of Public Health, and Dr. Jason's key interests are public health, community service, community oncology research, such as impacts on smoking on the formation of cancer treatments and recovery. So please welcome our speaker for today, Dr. Jason Chin.
Thank you so much, Geeta Anjali, for that warm introduction. I think she did a great job. Good job. Well done. Like what Miss Geeta was sharing, my name is Dr. Jason. I'm from National Cancer Society NCSM. So just opening up these slides now. Okay. So today we are going to be talking about FB Life, Leaving No One Behind. So Leaving No One Behind is a program that we are doing in NCSM to provide free HPV vaccinations to those who are underprivileged, single mothers, prisoners, orang asnaf, Sarawakans, Sabahans, orang asli, and whoever else who needs this vaccination, because we want to make sure that no one is left behind. Because cervical cancer is one of the most preventable cancers in the world if we give them a vaccination of HPV. And this HPV vaccination is life-saving. So every shot of HPV, we're actually saving a life. So my title today is HPV Vaccination, Dispelling Myths and Rumours. Right? So my name is Dr. Jason. I'm the operations lead for the Care Outreach Department. I'm a medical officer and as well a public health officer as well. So just a little bit of insight about NCSM. NCSM is the first and oldest cancer NGO in Malaysia since 1966 until now. Our vision is actually very spectacular. It will never happen, but it's a very nice vision to see. Living in a world without cancer, right? But I think the mission is actually something that we would love to highlight a bit more to ensure that no Malaysian fears cancer by creating an understanding of cancer that leads to prevention, early detection, and providing the best possible care and support for those affected by cancer, right? And this is a snapshot of what we do in Malaysia, right? So if you guys are not familiar, this is the Malaysian cancer treatment journey, right? From prevention, screening, diagnosis, treatment, and survivorship. NCSM is involved in all five of these. And if you have any need that you need for cancer treatment or cancer information, please contact us. We'll be happy to help you. Today, we are actually focusing on the first part of the cancer treatment journey, which is prevention, right? So prevention is better than cure. And if you guys have any information you need about cancer or you have any needs or supports that you need about cancer, please give us a call at 1-800-881,000. We love to hear from you. We love to help you out because everyone needs support, everyone needs information, and everyone needs help and support in this cancer treatment journey, right? Okay, so before we touch on cervical cancer, Miss Geeta, do you know cervical cancer is the which number of cancer in Malaysia for women?
It's the third highest cancer for
Wow,
women in
okay,
Malaysia.
fantastic. You are absolutely right. So cervical cancer is the third commonest cancer in Malaysia for women. The first is breast, the second is colon, and the third is cervix. All right. So just a little bit of anatomy. Uh, Miss Gita, do you think guys have cervix?
Of course not. Of course not. Only
So in
women have a
Malaysia,
cervix.
yeah, in Malaysia only women have cervix. Yeah, in Malaysia, guys don't have cervix in Malaysia. So just to let you know, the cervix is actually a part of the uterus that connects to the vagina, the upper part of the uterus as well. And it's a disease. So cervical cancer is a disease in which cells in our body grow out of control. Basically, our cells in the normal process will grow and die, grow and die, grow and die. It's a very normal process. But what happens in cancer is the cells don't stop growing. They just keep growing and growing and growing, and they refuse to die. So they just growing, 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 and eventually it becomes cancer. And when you talk about cervix, it's the part at the uterus that connects to the vagina. So cervical cancer is cells that grow out of control, out of proportion, and refuse to die at the cervical canal. And that's what we call as cervical cancer. right? So that's the picture on the left side with the cancer over there. Okay, so don't be alarmed. On the left side, if you see, it looks like a donut. And I use donut quite often in NCSM, but regardless. So the cervix is actually a smooth pink color thing. It looks like a donut, and that hole is actually where we do our pap smears and HPV DNA to detect for cervical cancer or detect for HPV. Right side is actually what cervical cancer will look like. It's very bloody, very rough, very friable. If you touch it, it will bleed. And that's what we don't like. And that's one of the symptoms of cervical cancer, actually. So we want to make sure that we can prevent this horrible, horrible thing from happening on the right side. Right? And as Ms. Kita rightly mentioned, cervical cancer is the third most common cancer among Malaysian women. The first is breast, the second is colon. Right? And cervical cancer is something that we want to make sure it goes down and down and down and down and down until we eliminate it. Because WHO says we can try to eliminate cervical cancer by 2030, and we shall. So, right, in Malaysia, what's the problem in Malaysia? In Malaysia, 41% of cervical cancer cases, are detected late stage 3 and 4, about 41%. What does that mean? It means that 41% of cervical cancer cases are detected when the cancer cells from the cervix is down there, has spread to all parts of the body. It's gone to the brain where people get seizures. It's gone to the lungs where they cannot breathe. It's gone to the back so painful they cannot move. And it's gone to the colon, liver, and all parts of the body, and eventually they pass on. So we don't want that. We want to catch cervical cancer in the early stages, and better yet, we want to prevent cervical cancer, right? And the problem in Malaysia is this. Number one, there's a lack of awareness about cervical cancer screening as well as prevention. Not a lot of people know about vaccination or even immunization screening for cervical cancer. Number two, poor mental support. A lot of patients are very worried, very anxious about cervical cancer. That's why they don't go for screening. They're scared. They do screening, they find out. But we don't want them to do that. We want to make sure no Malaysian fears cancer. And that's why it's important to have education awareness. Because once we have the awareness, we can actually take the necessary steps to prevent, screen, diagnose early. Because in the future, I want to see these numbers go down. I want to see that for 41% of diagnosis late stage, I want to bring it down to even zero. If zero is fantastic already. If everyone can pick up early, treatment is fast, simple, and cheap. Compared to late stage, where it's much more expensive, much more difficult, and longer to treat. Right? So the biggest risk factor for cervical cancer is a preventable infection caused by the human papilloma virus. Right? Okay. Ms. Gita, what does HPV stand for?
Human papilloma virus.
When I first learned it in medical school, right, it was like very mouthful, like papilloma. I couldn't pronounce it.
Same.
It's a very
Couldn't pronounce
interesting
it at
term.
all. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very interesting term. So this human papilloma virus is actually spread mainly through sexual intercourse and also through so some form of close physical contact as well can cause that. But 95% of cervical cancer cases are actually due to HPV infection, right? 95% of cervical cancer are due to a virus. But thankfully, we can prevent this virus because if you give the vaccination or the immunization early, we can prevent HPV infection, we can prevent cervical cancer, and overall bring down all the cases. So, Nikita, I need you to repeat after me. Prevention saves lives.
Prevention saves lives.
Well done. Thank you so much. Okay, so how do you protect yourself against cervical cancer? Number one, HPV vaccination. Because this vaccination is free. Number two, it's available. Number three, it protects lifelong against cervical cancer and HPV. Number two, go for regular cervical cancer screening, pap smears, or HPV-DNA. If you do all these screenings, you will reduce your risk of late-stage cancer, reduce your risk of getting cervical cancer if you go for screening. Lastly, adopt a healthy lifestyle. What I mean by that, number one, practice monogamy, right? Because HPV is transmitted via sexual intercourse. So the more people different partners you have sex with, the higher the chances of you contracting HPV. Number two, get if you do practice have sexual intercourse, use protection, basically a condom, a barrier method, so that you reduce your risk of contracting HPV. Number three, diet. exercise, and hit a normal weight, because all of these are risk factors for cervical cancer. So if you stay healthy, your risk of cervical cancer goes down as well. Okay, so HPV vaccination, right? So HPV prevention, first is again vaccination. Number two is routine screening. Basically, if you're 21 to 65 years old and you're sexually active, you need to get screened for cervical cancer. Number three, practice safe sex, like I mentioned earlier, and avoiding multiple partners or high risk partners, right? Basically, practice monogamy, don't sleep around. So, HPV vaccination, or another word we can use, HPV immunization. So, what does it do? This vaccine actually just boosts our immunity against HPV, right? When we get the vaccine, it causes our body to produce antibodies that fight against the virus, right? And the thing about this vaccine is that it's extremely safe because it has completed 4 stages of clinical trials, means it's very safe. Been in the market for about 20 years or 30 years already. It's very safe. It's been tested multiple times already, and has never been an emergency call to bypass all the safety protocols. So it's a very safe vaccination. Has been around for years. Even when we give it now, in our vaccination, because we go all around Malaysia to give these vaccines. In our vaccination programs, we never see any adverse effects, right? Miss Gita, have you ever seen anyone get like rashes, bengkak their muka and pink and that kind of thing?
Almost nothing. I've never
Right.
seen any type of adverse effect that is serious while
Yeah.
I'm vaccinating.
Yeah, precisely because this is actually a very safe vaccine that has been around for years. So that's what we have the assurance. That's why we can go around giving it for and very confidently giving it, right? So again, this is just a picture. If you didn't understand what I said, this is a picture. The vaccine is injected into your body. Our body immune system produces antibodies against the HPV, and these antibodies build up in our body without causing an infection reaction. And finally, once if the HPV comes into our body, body antibodies are ready to fight against it. So that way, your risk of cervical cancer is gone because you protect yourself against HPV. Right. So why should we stay protected? Long story short, less HPV, less risk of getting infected. Right. So if you can reduce the number of HPV infections, you can reduce the number of cervical cancer. It's a direct correlation. Right. So separating fact from fiction, the main meat of today, updates on HPV vaccination. Right. So there are so many myths that are perpetuated nowadays. Number one, you see that vial over there. Oh, this HPV vaccine is not safe. Oh, if I take this vaccine, I'm gonna be a sex maniac. Right. Oh, number three, if I take this HPV vaccine, my kids are gonna get autism or Down syndrome. Or I'm gonna get paralyzed if I take this vaccine. I'm so scared of vaccine. And number six, oh, okay, number six is supposed to show muscle ache and all that, but it's a very interesting photo. So let's talk about vaccine hesitancy. Right. So what is vaccine hesitancy? So for all the listeners out there, or even for Miss Gita, actually, for the matter of fact, vaccine hesitancy, this continuum is a continuum that states that people who want to accept vaccinations or immunizations fall in one or three of these categories, and it's a continuum. They are either acceptors, hesitants, they are hesitant, or they refuse. Acceptance, you can is either you accept all, means you believe, you understand the data, and you take it. Accept but cautious, accept but unsure. Basically, they accept the vaccination, but they are unsure of some of the details. Then you have the hesitants. They're in the continuum. Basically, some accept, some delay, some refuse. And finally, you have the end, which is refuse and resistant. Langsung, they don't want to hear about you. Langsung, they don't want to talk to you about vaccine. They will never get it. So the focus actually now, when we talk about all this vaccine hesitancy, is actually in the middle. We want to convince those who are hesitant, giving them enough information, give them enough access, give them enough assurance for them to get the vaccine. And that's what we want to do. We want to convert those people who are from the hesitancy into the acceptance, because this vaccine is safe, useful, and beneficial, right? And the three main factors for vaccine hesitancy is over there: complacency, confidence, and convenience. Number one, a lot of people think, I'll never get the cervical cancer. I will not me lah. I'm so healthy, I won't get. But if you got HPV, you have a risk of getting cervical cancer. Number two, convenience. People say, so mafan, very so difficult to get the vaccine. I don't want to get the vaccine. Cannot, because that is also another factor that we need to provide. That's why we're providing free vaccinations. We are going to your site to provide these free vaccinations. Number three, confidence. People need to be confident in what they're putting into their bodies. And with assurance, I can tell you that this vaccine is safe, beneficial and useful for you, right? Okay, number one. Okay, the first myth: vaccine is unsafe, right? So before licensing to the by FDA, 60,000 people have actually been studied to ensure its safety, right? And usually what they do is if there's any side effects, they'll go to the ER visit and hospitalization for 60 days post-vaccine, right? And this is before licensing by FDA. So all these mechanisms have been in place. And after licensing by FDA, 17 million doses have been given already. Safety monitoring has been done in 80 countries, and there's so far no serious safety concerns. And the assurance is there's no serious safety concerns for this vaccine, HPV, right? Miss Gita, have you gotten your HPV vaccine?
Of course, I've gotten it in school
Okay, fantastic.
when they were giving
So,
it. Yeah.
yeah. So actually for me, so there's another myth later at the bottom. We'll talk about whether males should get it or not. Actually, I haven't got mine. I need to get mine soon. My boss is gonna kill me. So the next one, vaccines are unnecessary unless you are sexually active. So the thing is this, right? Vaccines are preventive. They work only if you give it before getting the virus. Young people create more antibodies to the vaccine. That's why there's better protection. So in other words, right? Oh, I don't need to wear protection when I go into fire because I never go in the fire. Okay, I don't need that. But no, you need to wear protective gear before you go in the fire. Likewise, you need the vaccine before being sexually active. And almost everyone will be infected by HPV at some point. When you're given younger, you probably there's 2 times higher protection at 14 compared to 15, right? So it's important to get this vaccine when you are younger. Here you go. Vaccines are only for females. So this is a myth because both boys and girls can get HPV vaccinations. Some developed countries, example in Japan, they're actually starting to vaccinate their men because men are carriers, but women are sufferers. Meaning, the men are the ones who have the HPV vaccine, the HPV virus on them. When they have sex with women, they actually spread the virus to them. So if you give vaccine to both boys and girls, you reduce your risk of HPV, you reduce your transmissibility, infectivity, and overall reduce cervical cancer, right? Because if you vaccinate boys, you ensure that they are far less likely to spread HPV to future partners. And the benefit for men is that you get this vaccine, you're actually protecting not only against for your not only for your partner, but you're actually preventing things like genital cancers, cancers in the throat, penis, anus, and genital warts. Right. Next one. Vaccine don't work lah. For what I take? No, it's 100% effective from females. We did clinical trials and we found out that those who are there were no abnormalities for those who are high risk of HPV infections, right? So it's 100% effective for male, and for females it's 100% effective. For males it's 90% effective. So these vaccines are life saving. These vaccines work, and these vaccines need to be taken by both male and women at a young age, because by doing so we actually protect our future, right? Because now the younger ones will be the ones taking care of us in the future. The younger ones now are the ones who will lead the country in the future. If you can prevent all of them, this whole cohort from getting cervical cancer, we are actually saving a lot of lives, right? So prevention saves lives. Next one. Haha, interesting. So vaccine encourages sexual activity. Hmm. Hmm. So no, this does not. This has been disproven totally because giving a vaccine, logically, you give the vaccine. How does that cause you to suddenly feel like you want to have sex? There's no hormones in the vaccine. There's nothing to induce you to want to have sex. So there's no correlation. And when we did the study, we also found out that it's actually a confounding factor. Meaning, just so happen we are giving these vaccines in teenagers, and teenagers are when the onset of puberty happens, and that's when they feel like they want to have. Then that's when they finally discover sexual arousals and all that. So it's just ngam because they are the age group that we are vaccinating. They are also the age group that normally gets sexually active. So it's a confounding factor because there has no association with early onset of sexual activity or increase of sexual activity or related outcome, right? Right. So even without this HPV vaccine, right, studies in Indonesia have shown already that the mean age for first sexual intercourse was 15 years old, and this is in Malaysia. Mean age of first sexual intercourse was 15 years old. With or without the vaccine, it's 15 years old, right? And 12.6% had sexual experience, and 75.7% had sexual debut at 15 to 19 years old. And this is in Penang, Malaysia, right? So with or without a vaccine, people are already exposing themselves. So we need to give the vaccine first. At least we can protect them against cervical cancer, right? Vaccine everyone knows about vaccine right? Everyone should know about vaccine. So fortunately or unfortunately, more than 50% of Malaysians don't know anything about vaccine. Even during COVID, they just get jabbed. It's like, oh, okay, sure, I got jabbed, so I can go out. But people need to realize the importance of vaccine. Like we mentioned earlier, you give the vaccine, you produce antibodies, you protect yourself against the virus. So 60% of parents do have no idea about the vaccine. And the best single predictor, right, is actually doctors and healthcare workers, doctors, nurses, medical assistants, pharmacists, because when the healthcare professionals remind patients to get this HPV vaccination, that's when they actually start doing it. That's the single biggest predictor that we found. This is research done in Malaysia. No, this is not what Dr. Jason said. This is what data and analysis tells us. Okay, so are we doing enough? Right? So, fortunately or unfortunately, a lot of words here, but long story short, no, we're not doing enough. We need to increase the vaccination rates in Malaysia for HPV to prevent cervical cancer. We need to be more proactive in our education and awareness about HPV vaccination, and we need to promote HPV vaccination just a little bit more. Right? Haha. So this is a very, very, very interesting thing. Vaccines kill people. So, Miss Gita, just some real life experience. How have you heard people tell you this already? Oh, I don't want this vaccine because my kid will die, or there's a risk my kid will pass on.
I've had maybe one or two, but yes, I've had people be a little bit scared that the vaccine might kill them instead of anything else, really. They just are scared, oh, I'll die if I take the vaccine. There were some
Mm,
people, yes.
yeah. So that's interesting. So even though 80 million vaccines have been given, 100 million doses have been given worldwide, and even these 14 deaths and only 14 deaths have been reported. So right, let me just take out a calculator. So 14 divided by 100, times 100. So that's about 0.00000014% of passing on. And even that passing, right, is not due to the vaccine. It's due to things like car accident. So like, oh, I get the vaccine, the first car accident. Oh, it's a vaccine problem. No, it's a car accident. So what happened? He got the vaccine. Suicide as well, lupus, pneumonia, and congenital heart problems. So all these are not because of the vaccine. It already has happened. So it's just a very coincidental thing. But 100 million doses have been given worldwide, and no serious adverse effects have been happened. Right? The only side effects you get is pain. I still remember there was a girl in Penang, not Penang, Johor. We vaccinated her, right? Her heart, she was so pain. She was like, oh, pain, doctor. How? It was like, okay, relax. So we gave some cream, we gave Panadol, and she settled already. Redness and swelling at itchy side. And the only biggest thing we always worry, like as doctors, the biggest thing we worry about is allergic reaction, right? Or anaphylaxis. Thankfully, never seen it happening. No one has had serious adverse effects to the vaccine, even though we've given this vaccine throughout Malaysia, no issues already. So HPV's vaccination is safe, does not kill people, right? Again, HPV vaccinations do not kill people, right? Then the next myth, this vaccine will cause infertility, right? So why do people think that I give this vaccine, then I cannot have babies anymore? It should be the other way around, because it actually rules to protect fertility. Because you give this vaccine, you're protecting your cervix, the place where the baby comes out of. While you protect that, you're actually preventing possible cervical complication with pre-cancer treatments, right? So there is no data, and this vaccination has been proven to, so it protects women's ability to get pregnant and to have healthy babies. Because if you remember the picture just now, if the cervix is so big and so friable and bleeding, if you deliver, the baby won't survive, you won't survive. So we need to make sure that we prevent you from getting this cervical cancer, which is so preventable with a vaccine, HPV vaccination. By doing this, you reduce your risk of cervical cancer tremendously. Right? Okay. So this is an interesting question. So Can I say this? I can. I can say that I'm Chinese. So I see a lot of I don't know about you, Miss Gita, but I see a lot of parents always tell me, huh, one dose only. If how about the effect there? Will it go down? I need two dose, right? Immunity, right? Go down, right? So thankfully, WHO and Malaysia Ministry of Health Malaysia has said that those who are below 20, 9 to 20, one dose for life, that's it. Right? One dose for life and that's it. Even those who are above 20 is two doses for life. That's it. Because many studies have been done to show that even those with the vaccination, they're still having antibodies up till now. So there's no indication that their effectiveness will decrease over time, right? So they've done like over 20 years following patients. They find that, still got antibodies, still can protect against HPV. So no need for booster yet, right? This was done in studies in Spain, Japan, Holland. Found out that these antibodies are still there, even though I give the vaccine since they were 9 years old. Up to now, they still got a protection, so don't bother, right? So the long-term immunity is still there. But what if it wears off? What if it wears off, leh? Okay, never mind. I just give a booster. Like, okay, sure. If it wears off, we can give a booster. But the data shows that the immunity is still strong. There is no need for a booster yet, right? And finally, vaccine has harmful ingredients. Miss Gita, do you know that the HPV vaccine has aluminum inside?
I actually had no idea.
You should read the label.
Uh-huh.
Do you know what? Do you know what? Do you know that you can also get aluminum in your food,
That one I know, yes.
right? So do you know any examples of aluminum in food?
Not that I can think of right now, but I know we can get aluminum in food, yes.
Yeah, so things like grain products, processed cheese, tea, herbs, all of these have aluminum. But the thing about aluminum, right, it's quite safe in low amounts ingestion, right? And the amount we give in the vaccine, right, aluminum trisilicate, is so minuscule. But do you know why it's important for us to put this aluminum? Because what we are doing when we inject, right, when we inject the vaccine, we are injecting a piece of the virus, right? We're injecting a piece of the virus so that our body can produce immunity. But we cannot give so much of the vaccine. We cannot give so much of the virus. We cannot inject you so much of the virus, right? So it's not wise. So instead of injecting you with more virus, we put aluminum trisilicate inside as something called an additive. This additive boosts the immune response against HPV. So you don't have to give so much virus, you just need to put aluminum. It will cause your body to produce the immune response against HPV. So it's an additive, right? So, Gita, you didn't pick up the hint, but basically it's written that aluminum is also found in breast milk, infant milk, antacids, numerous food products like cereals, nuts, dairy, honey, fruits, and vegetables, right? And the aluminum content in the vaccine is so low. It's 0.225 mg of aluminum per dose, right? 0.225 mg is barely a mil. It's so small, but it's just to boost the immune response against HPV, right? And it's reviewed and is found safe by World Health Organization. Lastly, if I get vaccinated, I don't need to go for screening, right? Because I'm protected against cervical cancer, ma? Answer is no, right? Because HPV protects, the vaccine protects against HPV. HPV causes 95% of cervical cancer. You still have a 5% risk of getting cervical cancer, but we can pick that up by screening, early detection, and early diagnosis, right? That's why early prevention saves lives, early screening saves lives. Okay, so if you don't remember anything from today, right? Like let's say I've been talking, Miss Gita has been sharing her experience. If you don't remember anything from today's talk, there's only one thing you need to remember. HPV vaccination is safe, effective. So get vaccinated now. Protect against HPV related cancers. Right? And this is the World Health Organization vision. In 2030, we want to go in a world without cervical cancer. The target is 90% of girls fully vaccinated with HPV vaccine by 15 years old. 70% of women are screened for cervical cancer, and 90% of those who have cervical cancer receive treatment and care. So Malaysia is on the roadmap to this. We need to make sure that we get our vaccination rates up, screening rates up, and treatment rate up. Because of this, all sectors, private, government, even NGOs, are working towards this target because it does not involve just one of us, it involves all of the sectors. And we need to make sure we protect our women because women are a vulnerable group, number one. Children are also a vulnerable group. And every dose we vaccinate saves a life. So remember, prevention saves lives, early screening saves lives. And if you guys want to get the vaccine or have any queries about the vaccine, please contact the number here, there, below, 1-800-888-1000. Right? Just call them, ask about the vaccine. They will help sort you out. We'll make sure we get it to you, or we'll make sure some form of fashion will get it to you. All right. So that's all for today. Thank you so much, everyone, for your time. So I think we have some. We'll open up a session for Q&A. Oh wow, 3 questions now. Okay, Miss Gita, would you like to read out the questions? Got 3 apparently.
Okay, sure, bring it on.
Let's go.
Okay, Skylane Creative. Hi, doctor. At what age can someone be infected with HPV?
Hmm. So that's actually a very fantastic question. Honestly, I think Miss Gita can answer it, but never mind. I will, I will do it. Don't worry. So, at what age can someone be infected with HPV? Because the main way to get HPV is through sexual intercourse, right? So as long as they have sexual intercourse, they can become infected with HPV, and that's why it's important to get vaccinated early. Most places recommend vaccination by 13 years old, but anyone from 9 to 45 can get vaccinated, right? So to answer your question, anyone can get infected with HPV because it's transmitted through sexual intercourse. Thank you so much for the question.
Okay, Hazi Mokhtar. How do I know if my partner or I have been exposed to HPV?
Okay, so that's actually a very good question. Are you? Unfortunately, Hazim Mokhtar, I'm not too sure. Are you a male or female? Uh, is that a guy or girl? Hmm. I have
I
no idea.
can't.
Okay,
I'm
it's
sorry.
fine. So the question was very big also. Who's the guy and the girl? But basically, the men in the men unfortunately cannot get screened for HPV, right? There are no tools available for men to get HPV screening. Can you imagine putting a speculum or perhaps or a or a brush inside the male's part? That's not possible. For now, only women can get screened for HPV, right? And women screening for HPV is from 25 years old to 65 years old who are sexually active, right? So if you ever had sex, 25 to 65, you can get screened for HPV. That's either via a HPV DNA. It's a test kit that you will do and put inside your cervix just to check if there is the virus or not. So yes, the women can get screened for HPV and you can know if you're exposed, but men, unfortunately, we cannot. So the only thing men can do is get vaccinated.
Okay, Mahira. I have heard of people asking where does this virus come from and struggle to answer it. People think toilet seat lah, their spouse cheating lah. How do we answer this?
So that's actually a very good question, Miss Mahira. So I will tell you first some of the things that we hear. So it's quite tremendous. They say toilet seat. So no, not from toilet seats. Uh, so it's not from toilet seats. It's not from like spouse cheating or that. So basically, the HPV virus is transmittable only through mainly through sexual intercourse, right? And sometimes this HPV virus in our body is very asymptomatic. We can all be silent carriers at one point or another. Uh, so we can that's why we always answer them and say that all of us are silent carriers. We have it one way or another. It's either we got it when we were born through the birth canal. Our moms had it, we also passed down to us, or it could be because we had sex and then that's why it got passed down to us. That's how we answer that question lah. So the to long story short, it's through sexual intercourse and through vertical transmission via your mom or when you came out of the birth canal, right? But thankfully, it's preventable through vaccination, right? So I hope I answered your question, Miss Mahira. That was a very fantastic question. All right, I think there are no more questions already. So to summarize again, if you don't remember anything from today, remember HPV vaccination is safe, effective, and saves lives. All right. So Miss Gita, say after me: prevention saves
Prevention
lives.
Prevention saves lives, guys.
All right. So everyone, thank you so much for your time. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Have a good night. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye bye.